Hello friends, my name is Shiprakash Singh and welcome back to our channel BI and datascience.com. Now in this video what we are going to do is we are going to do the hands-on exercise of the same programs that we wrote last time on paper. So now we are going to do them on system. In part 1 of Python series, I walked you about the fundamentals of programming, the basic construct, control flow statements. We learned any kind of program is written using combination of just three kind of control statements: sequential, conditional, and looping. If you haven't watched that video, the link is here. I would recommend you go ahead and watch that video after this video. One of the example there we wrote was user entered calculator. We were asking user to enter two numbers and then also enter a letter A, B or M or D. If user enters A, we are going to add the number and display the result. If user enters S, we are going to subtract the number. Inputs M, we are going to multiply, and if user enters D, we are going to divide. I'll make another video where we can do all these things in a graphical user interface. But today let's do them in the terminal. So go and we'll save this file. We'll say save and we will save in our C Python example folder. Let's call it calc1.py because we are making calculator 1, so we do the calc1. Now here what we are going to do is we are going to ask user for a input to enter two numbers. So we first say, and we'll take the first number in variable x. So we'll say x is input. Now you see the advantage of IDE. These autocomplete things are automatically coming. So we say input and we give a message. This is what it will prompt to user. We'll say enter first number, and then we'll whatever user enters, the value will go in X. But here is a challenge. This input function you see here in the description, this is the return value. You see the type is str. Now str is string. So what this function is going to return me, the value in the string format. But I want the number to be numeric. That's why we can add and multiply and do arithmetic operations on them, right? So how do I solve that? What I do is I convert that to an integer. Now it's very easy. I can use the int function, and you see again here it's convertible to int. So it converts everything to integer. So you can see the function definition here. So I got my integer 1. Now I'll do the same thing again. I'll take another value. This time I'll say this is y, and I'll call here enter the second number. I'm just changing the prompt for user. I'm trying to ask user a operator, what operation user wants to do. Now I can take that in another variable. I'll say op. I'll just say input enter A to add, comma S to subtract, comma M to multiply, or D to divide. Now we are believing the user will type either A, S, M or D. If user types any other letter, we will get an error. In future program, we'll be able to do all this quality control on validating what input user is in. But for right now, let's believe the user is doing the right operations. We got our first number in X, second number in Y, and we got the operation in OP. Now let's go ahead and do the operation. We are going to store the result in variable Z. So until now, all the statements are sequential because the X will run, Y will run, OP will run. But now we want to make a decision based on whatever is the value in OP. So what we are going to use? We are going to use if. Indent only after using a control flow or a function definition, because in first video you have seen we don't use the block variables like curly braces. Here Python works everything on the basis of indentation. So if OP, again double equal to, right? If OP double equal to A, then what we need to do? Again, this means do everything that is beneath this. Now you see, automatically when I entered Python indented, this is the benefit of using an IDE. We'll just assign the value. Z would be X plus Y. Else we'll say if OP is double equal to S, we will have Z would be X minus Y. And we will say if OP is M, we'll say Z is X into Y. And if OP is D, then what we are going to do is we are going to divide. Okay. So we got all our condition. Now let's print the value of G. So we'll say, again, we are going to print it very fancy using the F string. So inside the F string we say first number, which is X OP, and then we'll say Y is equals to Z, right? Now here I cannot write Z is X plus Y or X minus Y because all of that is determined inside the conditional branches. This is it. Now if I save this program, you can also use Ctrl S to save. And if I go on my console, and you remember we need to change the path to C Python _ex, and let's run this program. Python calc _1.py. See, now it's prompting me. It's prompting me here saying enter the first number. So I'll say the first number is say 12. Enter the second number. I say 10. And then it's asking me enter A to add, S to subtract, like the same prompt that we wrote inside the input. So I'll say, okay, let's do S. I type here capital S. So now you see the output is 12S, 10 is 2. Now you remember here I said let's type capital S, because if I write small s, see, we got an error because G is not defined, right? Because none of the branches were true. These branches run whenever it is A, S, M, D, right? But we are typing a small s. Now a small s is not same as capital S. So other way to solve that is whenever we are taking this input, because this is a string, and to a string you can convert it to upper, lower, you can use different kind of functions here. So we will use the upper function. So any string dot upper, it will convert it to uppercase. If you do string dot lower, it will convert it to lowercase. And there are many other string functions. This is where hands-on practice makes you more competent. So let's do upper, and let's now save it. Now it does not matter whether we type small s or capital S or small m or capital M, it will work. So my program is saved. I'm going to clear this window, just make it a little bit neat and clean. Now we'll run the same program again. We'll say Python calc _1.py. We can enter any number. This time we enter the first number as 100, the second number as 200, and this time we want to divide it. So let's type D. Now I'm typing a small d, but it will take care of it. So see, 100 divided by 200 is 0.5. So this is a example of using conditional statements, and because we are using many conditional statements here, the other way would have been to want to print an error in case of if it's any number other than this. So for that, the other idea would be to use else if. Now what this does is, ELIF is nothing but it's a short form of else if. So what we are saying is, if this is A, then do this. If not, if it is this else, then do, and if it is this, then do, and in the end we'll have to type last else. What does this mean? If it is none of these, right? So if this is this, then do this. If it is S, then subtract. If it's M, then multiply. If it's D, then divide. Otherwise, if it's nothing, if it's any other word or any other character, just print, or here we'll say print invalid option. But at the same time, here we'll have to, because the G is not defined, let's create a flag called valid that will have the value true. Now, whenever user prints an invalid option, we'll make valid as false. We'll say val is false. Now, we want to print this statement only when the val is true. Means the user has not entered any invalid option. So we go here and we put this again inside that condition. If val is, or we can even say if val, means if true, then do this, right? That's it. Now what will happen is, we are doing the same thing. We are asking user three things. We are asking X, we are asking Y, we are asking an input for operation, and we are creating a flag. Whenever the user is giving a valid option, we are assuming user will always give a valid option. So we are making val true. But user may give invalid option. In that case, we will print it's an invalid option, and we will not print the value of our operation. If the valid is true, then this thing will not be printed and the value of the operation will be printed. So now let's go ahead, save this file. So Control S. Okay, now let's go ahead and run the same program. We enter the first number as say 20 and we enter the second number as say 10. I want to give a invalid option. So I want, let's type Z. See, now it's printing invalid option. It's giving me like the option is not between A, S, M or D. So rather than printing an error, it's printing invalid option. And now let me run it again. When I type a valid option, say this time I type 20, 10 and I type multiply M. Now you see it does 20 M 10 is 200, right? Now we want to make it more fancy because we are using ASMD as a word, but if you want to print the operator instead of ASD, so in the output here, rather than printing ASDM, we can even print plus, minus, equal, and for that it's an easy change. I can leave that exercise for you guys to do. Let me do this one and I'll leave another exercise for you guys. What I can do is here, in every if conditional evaluation, I can create another variable as display operator. So I can say display operator and I can make it null. So there is nothing inside display operator, but first time when it is A, I want to make display operator as plus. So it will display plus. Now when it is minus, I want to make my display operator as minus. If it is multiply, I want to make my display operator as this sign. But I want to print it, then we are using it in quotes. When it's D, I will just make display operator to have this thing inside it. Here, rather than operator, we have to print the display operator. Okay, friends. Now if we save this code and now run, our output will print a little bit better. So now let's see how the output looks. Let's run the code. We say first number is 3, second number is 6, operation is M. See, now it prints 3 into 6 is 18. Let's run it again. Now this time we say the first number is 20, second number is 30, and we say divide. Operator is D. See, it says 20 divided by 30 is 0.666. Now this time let's give an invalid operation. So we run it again. We say first number is 12, second number is 1, and now we say F, invalid option. So this is a very basic example of asking user doing operation using conditional statement. At the same time, we are trying to do it a little bit more visually appealing, and this is how you have to practice programming. And friends, what I can do is I can give a list of 10, 20 different exercise questions that will help you build your programming muscle. You can download that file and you can install Python, and then you guys can do some hands-on practice by making those programs. And if you run into challenges, just type in comment, or if you are enjoying, then also comment us. The other program that last time I told you in part 1 of the series was around multiplication using for loop. So let's build that program here. Let's create a new file. We'll say new file, and we'll say this is a Python file, and then we'll save it, and we will call this file as multiply. So we'll say multi-ex, multiple example, multi-ex. What we are going to do is we are going to take a number from user and we are going to print the table. Like if the user is entering 5, we want to print 5 into 1 is 5, 5 into 2 is 10, all the way till 5 into 10 is 50. Now we know, because we have to do something again and again, we are going to use for loop, and we are going to let's see how we are going to do this. So first thing first, let's ask the number and let's create a variable n. We'll take the input, but we have to first convert it into integer. So integer, then input, and then we give the prompt to user saying enter the number for table, okay, question mark, and then this is what will display to the user. Once user enters the number, all we are going to do is we are going to print the table. Now we can say one message print, and we can say here printing table, and then we can make it more fancy, and then we can do on next line. Now to print the table, we have to multiply the number from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to 10, and we know how to use a for loop. If you want to understand this conceptual clarity of how you are going to do all these things, watch the video here. The link is also in the description. So we'll say for, again we are going to use a variable I in range, and we know how to create a range. You give a minimum value, which is 1, a maximum value, which is 10, and that's it. And again we use a colon. So now you see it has indented. Everything that we write here is inside the for loop. We are going to write again print, because we are printing the table. We'll say print, and again we want to print it beautifully. Whenever you want to print beautiful string using some constant and some variable value inside it, you use the f string. So we use the f string f, and then whatever you write inside it will be printed as is, but to use the variable as a placeholder, we use the curly brace. So we'll say our value is into n, so we will say n, and then times this into will print as is, and then we want to print it I, because it will print n times I, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I, and we'll say here again is equals to n into I. So this is it, and then we can say print again, table done. Or let's make it fancy. Let's again use the f string. We can say f table of n, placeholder. This is it. So we save this, we go here on the terminal, let's clear it, and now let's run our file python multi_ex.py. So enter the number for table. What number do you want? Let's say 8. Wow. Printing table dot dot dot, 8 into 1 is 8, 8 into 2 is blah blah blah, then table of 8. The good part here, friends, this is, you'll have to figure out, the loop does not include the upper boundary value. So to print the table all the way up to 10, we have to make this thing 11. So we do save. Now let's clear it again and let's run it. And now let's print the table of 9. Let's make it a little bigger. Now you see, beautiful, 9 times 1, 2, all the way 9 times 2. Now why this value is not 1 less than the maximum value of the range? Because by convention in computer, everything was started from 0. And it's called the base index. So we start counting from 0. And we go all the way 1 less than the number. We don't go over the number, right? The more professional looking code for this would have been something like this. We run the loop from 0 to 10. And then here, because we don't want to print that number in 0, we do I plus 1. We'll also have to do it here. So this is a more, the experienced programmer in industry will write the same code like this. But I started counting from 1 to 11 just to make it intuitively clear to you. It will give you the same output. Okay. So the good practice is you start the loop from 0 all the way to the number you want, 0 to 10. And then you take care of the value inside here. Otherwise, if you are starting from 1, just use 1 more than where you want to go. Okay, friends, so this is the example on for loop. Now let's do one more exercise on the loop where we don't know how many times we want to run, but we have to do it until user enters something like, say, Q for quit. The example can be, let's go back to our old code, calc.py. We are asking user a number and an operation, and we are printing the result of that operation. And we are giving an invalid option if he is entering any other number. In this same code, I want to make sure that when the user presses Q, we want the program to terminate. Otherwise, for any other value other than Q, we want to keep doing this thing again and again, right? So that's what we want to do. So let's see how we can modify this code to keep doing calculations until user presses Q. To save my timing, I'm just going to save this file with a new copy. Okay. Now, I can go ahead and edit this program because this is a copy of the loop. Now I know I have to do all the way from line 1 to line 24. I want to do this thing again and again until user enters Q, right? So I'll put this whole thing inside a while loop. So let's say while, and we want to keep doing this until our operator is not Q. So we'll say OP is not equal to, now you know, for equal we use double equal, and for not equal we use exclamation mark equal, not equal to Q. Okay. So we keep doing this thing and we put everything. Now we have to indent all these things inside while. So we put this entire thing. We can just use tab. Okay. So this whole thing now goes inside while. So this whole thing will keep happening until it is not queue. Whenever it is queue, it will exit. Right? Simple. When it is queue, let's say when it exits, we'll say print thanks for using our calculator. See you next time. And for the first time we say OP. We can put it any value other than Q. Let's say T. So now OP is T. While OP is not Q, it will keep on asking an X and Y, an operation, validation, and it will keep on doing things again and again. Okay, this is it. This is our code. Okay. Now we say, see, it asks me first number, I say 2, second number I say 3, and then I say M, it multiplies. Now you see what is happening? 2 into 3 is 6, but it's not terminating. It's again in the loop. It's again asking me enter the first number. I'll say okay, this time 3, second number is 4, this time do a S, it subtracts, 3 minus 4 is minus 1. Again, doesn't terminate, keeps in the loop. Enter first number. I say 2, 2, and this time I enter some random number, some random option. I say I enter D. No, D is a valid option. I go and I type 1. It says invalid option. So now you see it will keep on doing this thing until I press. So I can do multiplication, division, subtraction as long as I want. So for example, if it's any application you are building for reservation or for point of sale or for any automation, you want to keep that program running in a loop until you press one option. You remember when we were doing the REPL, the read, evaluate, print and loop thing of Python interpreter, that was also doing the same thing in a loop until we pressed quit or Control Z. Here we have to type Q. So if I type first number 12, second number 12, but I press Q, you see now it's terminated. Q was an invalid option for the operation, but we are out of the loop. It says thanks for using our calculator. See you next time. Today we wrote some sample programs using conditional statements, using for loops, using while loops. Friends, if you like this video, comment in section what was the best part you liked and what would be the new things that you would like us to make videos on. Until then, thank you for watching this video till end. Happy learning.